All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here now to talk about this fucking new Civic Type R. All right, so welcome to VHP Engines, and this is something I've been harping about for the last couple weeks, pretty much since the Type R was officially released to dealers in the United States. Mainly, I think what really caught my attention at first, or what really made me want to delve into this topic a bit, is the fact that there is so much controversy around this release. And then, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine, maybe he's watching, Alexander Lopez, is a good friend of mine, pointed out too that there was something very similar that happened when the Focus RS was released. Like, I remember the first time I saw the sticker price for the Focus RS was last year, early last year, early 2016. I was at Formula D in Orlando, and thinking, that it's a really nice car. For those of you who haven't really seen it up close, the Focus RS is a nice car. I think it could use a little bit of flashiness in the interior for its price, but other than that, it's a well-rounded car. But going up to it and looking at it, it's like $40,000. I'm like, oh, fuck, $40,000 for a 13-second car. I was like, no, I don't think so. All right, so which of course is part of the topic I'm going to talk about for the Type R now. This isn't going to be a Type R worship video. I love Honda. I love fucking this car. I love the fact that it's here in America and that we're going to actually be able to see him, and some of us are going to be able to drive it. But I do have a lot of issues and a lot of problems with this car. And honestly, American manufacturers have stepped up their game in the last couple of generations of cars are released so much that it's almost getting to the point where all imports need to fucking change, because their pricing and their power isn't very competitive. And some of you guys that have watched the channel long term have heard me talk about, price, consistency, and availability. So I guess with that, we'll go ahead and just jump into it with that in mind. And so the first thing I'm going to do is talk about the new Type R. We got to compare it to the other Type R that came out. And for those of you who don't know, I think it's kind of obvious from looking at it, especially if you look at it side to side, you can tell these are two different cars. But they're two different cars. It's the FK2 was the first Type R. When they announced the Type R was going to come out, a new Type R was coming out. I think it was 2014, maybe 2013. No, it for sure wasn't 2013. So 2014, 2015, we'll talk right around there. The new Type R is coming out. We're finally getting a Type R in America. So then this car comes out. It's the FK2, and it was an ugly turd. Like everybody else was, reading this shit on the internet or reading it in a magazine or hearing it wherever they heard about it. It was like, oh my God, we're finally getting a fucking Type R, and then you start seeing the car, and it's like, fuck, that's kind of cool. But then seeing it more and more and more, I was kind of like, I don't know. And so then I really started taking a look at it, and the car really looked fucking horrendous. It was a turd. And for any of you guys in here to think the EP3 was an ugly car, just take a look at this fucking shit, And so we're looking at this fucking thing. It's nice and egg shaped, but it's like long, drawn out egg shape. It's like somebody took the EP3 and smashed it with a fucking hammer, or rolled over it with a rolling pin. It is a fucking gross car. And it's a sedan, and they masked the two rear doors by having some whatever weird function they have to open it up. I don't remember. I remember seeing how they did it before. I don't remember now. Don't care. We're never going to see this car, and thank God for that. It's, I think the front end isn't too drastically different, as far as headlight shapes and shit go, from what the FK8 is. But it's still it's so plain and just gross looking. And then okay, so here we'll put up the FK8 real quick. As soon as I find the fucking picture. But just all the way around, you can just look at this car and see the difference, and it's just such a better looking car. And I remember the first time I saw this car was in the camouflage, because we were all wondering and waiting, when the fuck is the Type R going to come here? When the fuck is the Type R coming? We kept seeing and hearing news about it, but, we weren't getting anything. And it turns out that it seems that that fucking Honda was redesigning and twerking things or tweaking things, twerking, Jesus Christ, or tweaking things about the car to make it, I guess, better standing and more appealing for when they release it to North America. And me personally, the way I feel it is that North America is a big fucking audience to you know. Plus, you know, it's, you know, we have carbon emission laws different from the rest of the world, which is why we don't get a lot of the cars that other countries do. You know, so I think that they were really trying to focus hard on making sure they could deliver something that we would actually buy. Because if you don't know a little bit of the history of the older Type Rs, it's the reason why Honda never sold any other Type Rs here after the initial sale was because the dealership took a loss for selling the Type R, the Integra Type R, to U.S. dealers. So they took a loss in production selling those cars here, and I guess that's the reason why they never followed up with it. I guess they just didn't feel like going out of their way to make a Type R that may or may not sell well. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit too about the sales price of this fucking thing. I'm sure most of you already know and have heard all the rumors. But just to keep looking around this car, I mean, everything all the way around. Oh, and I kind of skipped past what I said earlier. The first time I saw this car, it was camouflaged, and right away, even under the camouflage, you can see that the new Type R is more closely modeled off of the new 10th generation Civic compared to as that FK2 nonsense was. I don't know what the fuck homunculus that shit was. Like they took, it seems like the interior was based off of like what the older Civics were. So here's that real quick. That's a shot. And you know, initially it's like, that's not really a bad interior. It doesn't look too bad. It's kind of like that they made the center console and shit driver centric, but it looks pretty much like what the old SI was. It seems like, or the last generation SI, the 9th gen, which isn't bad, but it's not really great either. For a top tier Civic, I think I would expect a little bit more. And then you go to the FK8's interior and just see the difference. I think the only thing that they really carried over was the seats, which the seats are amazing, so that's a good thing. But everything else, even the steering wheel, is a little bit different. And but the center console is not driver centric anymore. It's more center focused and oriented. And the gauges, you know, it doesn't have that overlapping over top ahead of the fucking of the Speedo, which I actually like. I kind of like to have, you know, that Speedo separate from all the other shit. You know, that's one thing I've always liked the older Civics over the Accords. And that's because the Accords have digital displays and shit, but they are, you know, they're kind of like, they're digital but classic. I kind of like the idea of the standalone fucking Speedo, but if you put overall the FK8 versus the FK2, the newer Type R that America's getting, or that we're just now getting, is fucking like light years beyond. It looks better altogether, and it definitely does look like a driver's fucking car, or it looks like something you could, you know, justify being high end. And yeah, I didn't really put a lot of FK2 pictures in because there's not really much to do. You can walk around the FK8 and look at like everything everything all the way around that car is great as compared to the FK2, which is just fucking white bread. It's an egg. It's a fucking boiled egg. That's what you're getting when you buy that car. But we're never gonna see that here, so no big deal. All right, I guess to go move forward into the next thing, and this was a big thing for me. This is, you know, this price, power, availability. You know, price and power are the two things, the two P's that you're looking for when you're buying a new car. And fortunately enough, it seems like I was right in my guess where the FK8 lands in quarter mile time. Now, the FK2 was kind of controversial. That car is still not super widespread. I think it only had like 1 year of real circulation, maybe 2. And it's only in Europe, the European markets, other shit. And I guess that unlike the North American market, where we seem to be super fucking race oriented, super like power, America, go big, go hard, go home, or go home, fucking. So a lot of us, you know, especially the younger guys, the big thing we look at is how much power it makes, how fast it's going. So the FK2, but like I said, the FK2 doesn't really have a lot of coverage on that shit. Like, there's so many different videos out there. It's kind of controversial to see. Now, I didn't search as as enthusiastically for the FK2's quarter miles as I did for the FK8s, because I think, you know, that's not really relevant to us, but we will compare that here. Now the FK2 is a little lighter than the FK8. The curb weight for the FK2 is around 3,047 pounds, as the FK8's curb weight is 3,150. That's kind of a hefty Honda. That is pretty heavy, but that a lot of that shit goes into like the craziness of the suspension work that they did. You know, to be able to change the suspension so dramatically to make the different effects for your ride and for stability under power. Because, you know, if you look around too, you see a lot of them talk about how Honda destroyed torque steer. Like, torque steer is not an issue with this car. So now the FK2, if you like, the last time I remember looking at a quarter mile stamp for that was 14 seconds, like 14 flat, and that is fucking atrocious. That's a Type R. 14 fucking seconds is like so fucking 15, 20 years ago. Like, that's ridiculous that we have cars, you know, supposed to be the top of the lineup for Honda, and is rolling out at 14 seconds. Now, and then another thing too is, you know, a lot of people saw the Type R versus the Golf R, and, you know, that, and the FN2 got fucking destroyed in that video. But, you know, I will also point out that I strongly believe that was like, that's a driver thing. You know, a lot of these times when you see people doing these little reviews and shit, these aren't fucking like real race car drivers. They're just dudes that just happen to be there, here, take the car, go fast. Because if you look at it, like, there's another video out there, and I may or may not leave descriptions for these. I think I'm going to try to. I'll see, and I'll leave them both in the description. So check down there. You can see the two separate videos I'm talking about. You see that there's that Golf R versus the Type R. The Type R loses by quite a bit. And then there's another race that they did. It's a three-way race. It's the Focus RS versus the FK2 and the Golf R. And the Focus RS whooped both their asses considerably, by a considerable amount. But then you look at the FK2 Type R versus the Golf R, and it's like, I think it's like a gap by a car or maybe two. So I don't know how well or how truthful that fucking 14-second time is. Also considering the fact that it's the same power plant that the new FK8 has, and it's a lighter car. So the FK8 is definitely faster. It said, you know, faster times on the Nürburgring, I think, but not by like a whole shit ton. I think it might be 7 seconds. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on that. But, you know, the FK8 was still a faster car. But I think it's similar enough in power that, you know, if you think about like on a quarter mile and shit, like a fender or half a car or a car, I think everybody can argue that a car length of fucking gap between somebody is, you know, that's a fairly good win. That's a fairly big win. I beat you by a car. That's a decent amount. It's not a little bit. It's not that close. It's a whole car length. And a whole car length is how much of a second? Like, how many tenths of a second is that? So when you talk about a 14-second quarter mile versus what the FK8 is showing here at, we're looking at a quarter mile of 13.6 as tested by these assholes, which I can't remember where I got them from. Whatever. Yeah, 13.6 standing quarter mile. And that's honestly, like, I talked about this a bunch of times before I made the video. That was one of the big reasons I was holding back from waiting, and I wanted some kind of official testing of this car. Somebody to go out and fucking test it. And they did, and they got 13.6 out of it. I don't know if they just put one guy in there and did one fucking drive, one launch, and that was the time they came up with, or if it was an amateur driver or a great driver, or it was tested multiple times. But 13.6 is the quarter mile that they came up with, and 13.6 based off power and weight is about what I was estimating. Because if you look at like the Preludes and the Type S's and shit, around 14 seconds or what, or, you know, or let's just say a 300 horsepower in a Type S, a fucking Integra Type S. That's probably somewhat close to what you would see, and the weight is close enough where, you know, that would seem right. And I think the same thing, like, you know, another car was I tried to get my idea off of was a Prelude. Like, 300 horsepower Prelude, what kind of power or what kind of quarter mile times do you really think that's going to put down? And in the Type R, we now know, based off that video out of Puerto Rico, the Civic Type R puts down a 295 wheel horsepower. So there's that. So 295, 300 wheel horsepower flat in a 3,000 pound car. I think that's a safe estimate there, 13.6. You know, but again, you know, that's still like fucking A, dude. Like, we're stretching out happy, like, fuck yeah, we got a 13-second car in fucking 2017, and then the car's price is insane. But also, to be fair, to be fair on the Type R, this is why I said earlier in the video that I think all imports need to step up their fucking game, because all these 4-cylinder turbo cars out here in the same price as some of these big muscle cars, the same price range, and they're not competing at all in the fucking quarter mile times. So, price versus power. To be practical, if I had the money in the credit score right now to go out and buy a car, would I be shopping for a Type R? No. And then here's something else to talk about. Everybody, another thing that got my interest in why I really want to talk about this is because I've seen a lot of people in the forums, or not forums, but fucking on Facebook talking shit about, $60,000 fucking Civic and the shit. I'm like, what? Who the fuck said it was 60 grand? So then, to put this to rest, kind of, I started poking around, and there's no dealerships around me at the time of the launch that had any fucking Type R's or whatever. So I went back to good old Miami. I go back and I started looking at Aventura, or I looked in fucking Brickell first, because I figured of all places in Miami, the Brickell dealership would probably be the first to have it, and wrong. And then I looked at the one on that's close to Sunny Isles Beach, and they didn't have one either. And finally I landed on the Aventura Honda dealership, and they're like, coming soon, and the fucking price tag is $51,238. So holy fuck, guys, the fucking Type R, the MSRP for the dealers from Honda is like 34,000, or right around that area. And, I was actually kind of hopeful. I was like, oh, yeah, 34,000 is not bad. Maybe the direction for the dealership markup, maybe it would be like around 36, 38, or possibly what I assumed, because they didn't tell us price for a long, long time. I just kept imagining in my head that the fucking price was going to be 40 grand, just based off of, what we were getting and similar cars. Because if you honestly look at it, if you look at a fucking brand new STI, or, you're looking around $40,000, And so I'm like, all right, fuck, 34,000, that shouldn't be too bad. It's gonna wind up being 40 grand, like I figured it would. And then you go out there and you see the dealer markup is enormous, $51,000 in Florida right now, or at the time. All right, now with that being said, since I saw that, and recently this past weekend, I found out that there is a dealership in Ashland, Kentucky, which is not far from me, is also selling a Type R, and they're selling it for $47,000. Oh wow, that's not bad. That's insane. I don't know. Fuck. So, but anyway, that leads into another part of this, and that is the insane dealer markup based off the fact of how popular this car is, how hype it is. The first time that we've ever got one, first time in 20 years since we got the last Type R. So it's gonna be that way. They're gonna trickle down. Apparently, there's no mass shipping of these cars. I don't know how many of them were fucking made, so I don't know if the dealers even had to vie for them or not. So I think that it's safe to say that Honda's gonna trickle these out a little bit, just to kind of like test the waters to see how well it's gonna sell here or whatnot. But there's people out there buying these cars now. They're definitely selling. You see them more and more. I'm seeing them pop up on the streets or whatnot. And as a matter of fact, I saw there's a video of EK, or not EK, but an EG fucking Civic, a K-swap Civic, that's racing the new Type R. Racing. I don't know if the car was actually running or not. It does kind of seem like, because when the EG was at the top of its fucking power, like the FK8 was back there holding pace with it, at a fucking big distance, but holding pace with it. So I think it can be said that was a race they were attempting to run. But come on, guys, what the fuck you expect? From a video like that, what it sees to me is some petty young kid who's broke that needs to make himself feel better about not being able to afford a car like the Type R by beating it with his K-swap fucking 2,000-pound car. Like, yeah, dude, if you put a 240 fucking horsepower, or 200, even like a 220 horsepower car or engine in a fucking car that weighs, 2,200 pounds or 2,300 pounds with full interior, and then gut that car, yeah, of course that's gonna fucking murder fucking, most new production cars. That would fucking murder the cars that are even, considered fast that are coming out today. So that's not a big thing. So, of course, Honda haters are coming out of the fucking woodworks because, we're finally getting a Type R, so everybody's hype about it. Everybody says it's a fucking piece of shit, $50,000, and it's a 13-second car, and it's true. But just the fact that they can sell these cars at that price just goes to show the love for the fucking brand and how people are excited to have this. And I'm also sure too that once, you know, these start going out to shops like to modify, we are gonna see some nasty fucking Type R's. We are gonna see some nasty fucking Type R's, and the suspension, and you know the suspension setup where it fucking eliminates torque steer, dude. These are gonna be. Just look at the old Ks, like the first generation K series. Those fucking you throw a turbo kit on those fucking Ks, and they can handle like 400 or 500 horsepower stock. So imagine what this fucking new K is gonna do that comes from the factory boosted. This is gonna be a fucking monstrous car. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see 600-700 horsepower out of these fucking cars like bone stock. And that, you know, that's already something that's capable even out of the fucking F20Cs and F22Cs from the S2000, which I'll be talking about in the future. So now to talk about, you know, price versus power, still in there talking about that. Now I will compare it to some of the other cars that you see for sale nowadays, and that, like I said, America really stepped up its fucking game. You know, you got the Dodge is making some of the fastest production cars for people that you can buy, and it's arguably at a really great price, because when you're fucking out there destroying Lamborghinis and shit with these fucking American production cars and paying, you know, fractions of the price, that's not bad at all. If you look at the like, not even just the Hellcat, but if you look at the fucking that new Diablo, or what the fuck is it called, the Demon, the fucking the Demon and shit is like putting down 9 seconds out the fucking box. That's insane. And I think the price tag for that, I haven't checked because I didn't really plan on talking about it, but I think the price tag is like $80,000 for that car. You know, compared to like the GTR, which is like 130 grand, compared to a Lamborghini or high-end Porsche or a Ferrari or whatnot, which is like 150,000, six figures plus. You know, so they're really doing some fucking good shit over here, man. And so go back down. Let's just say I'm not, because I know like Dodge especially has like 1 million packages for 2 fucking cars. You know, the Challenger and the Charger have like fucking, it's like 6-7 packages each. You know, ranging different powers and price range. But we'll just take the basic ass Mustang GT 5.0, and we'll take the Camaro SS. Both of those cars runs 12s out the boxes. You know, like, you fucking get them, you go as they are to the track, get used to that car, be a somewhat decent driver, and you're running like mid to high 12s. Like, I think one of the last Camaro SS I seen was like a 12.6 or something like that, and like maybe the Mustang's like a 12.8. And I think that the fucking Camaro, I love the Camaro. Like, I made a fucking like an auto salon walkthrough when I went to one in Charleston months ago, and nobody really watched that one. But I, you know, in that, you know, during that auto salon, I got to sit in the SS, and I got to sit in the GT, and I like the SS a lot. I think, you know, despite the fact that it, you know, I can see why people complain about visibility, I think it's awesome. It's, you know, it's the only car that, like, you know, you sit in and you feel like it's heavy and it's a tank. But honestly, I think I appreciate the interior setup more in the SS than I did in the fucking Corvette. I liked it a lot. And I think that the Mustang GT is probably a little bit wanting on the interior side. Although I think that when it comes to exterior looks, I love the way they both look. But I think the Mustang GT is a lot more streamlined. And it's a lot closer to what an import is. As a matter of fact, if I had the money in the fucking, like, in the credit score right now to go out and just fucking buy a brand new car, I think the car that I would probably buy, I think the one that makes the most practical sense for me is like the EcoBoost Mustang. And I know it's like, oh, why the fuck would you buy a Mustang and not buy the 5.0? Well, for 2 reasons. One, I think that they really look good, like, you know, and the price. Like, you can get a fucking brand new EcoBoost in like the mid 20K range. You can get an EcoBoost for like a Accord power, for Accord prices. So I think that's not bad to buy, you know, what's technically still a sports car at that low of a price. And I think hold on a second. Anyway, oh yeah, so the Mustang EcoBoost, and what really kind of sold me on it is, like, I was poking through Twitter and Instagram for David Patterson like some months ago, and he had one out there that looked fucking amazing. And then you go into these shops that are fucking tweaking these EcoBoosts, and the max power range I've seen out of a stock engine EcoBoost, you know, with the turbo upgrade and shit, with 500 wheel horsepower. So if you can get like a $26,000 car, spend $3,000 on it, and get more power out of it than the fucking $40,000 Mustang, then I think that's definitely something worth looking into. You know, even though some people would argue that, you know, modifying a car that you're paying for, but you know, at the end of the day, a turbo kit was not a big deal to take it off and put the factory shit back on if the need ever arises. So when I look at the Type R, and this is something I've looked at even when the FK2 was still new, buying a new Type R versus buying something American. If you're going to be looking for straight up power, then you definitely want to go with a Mustang or Camaro or anything in the muscle range. Because you're paying the same price and you're whooping its ass. And me personally, I wouldn't be buying a car to modify it, despite what I just said about the fucking Mustang. You know, I wouldn't be buying a car to modify. I would buy a car brand new because I just want brand new reliability, something fun to drive, and something I don't want to modify. So I wouldn't spend 40 grand on a 13-second car, you know, a high 13-second car, arguably, to go out and get my ass whooped on the street by somebody else who paid, you know, same price and got something better. But then again, I guess it just comes down to if you're arguing for fuel reliability. And honestly, at the end of the day, when I'm looking for reliability in a new car, I'm not looking for fuel mileage. I'm just looking for a breakdown factor. So yeah. All right. So I guess the last part of the topic here to talk about, and did wind up running into the longer side of than I thought, is normalizing the Type R. What Honda plans to do with the brand. I think that, you know, other automakers have done this trend. So Honda may be trying to jump on that a little bit, somewhat. Like if you remember, of course everybody remembers the fucking Genesis. Everybody knows the Genesis. Everybody talk shit about how the car is such a fucking cow or whatnot. And it is a fucking cow. But for price and for looks, the Genesis was a nice car, man. Like if I run across a good price Genesis, you know, even the first or second gen, I would definitely buy one. But you can see that the Genesis sold well enough that Hyundai decided to make Genesis its own lineup, its own brand, and sell a whole bunch of different types of cars under the Genesis brand. And it seems like that the Honda is doing something similar, as in offering multiple packages. I guess it's probably more similar to fucking Dodge and what they do with their Charger and Challenger, but because I definitely don't believe that Honda is going to be like, we're making a new dealer brand, it's going to be Type R. Even though I think they could, and I think that would actually be fucking amazing. Like, could you imagine, guys, like an Accord Type R, a CRZ-R, or, you know, shit like that, you know, just like every fucking normalized version of Honda or Acura, we get the fucking, like a full-on racing version. I think that, you know, that could be done, and, you know, maybe that's something that could be possible depending on how well the Type R sells here. And I'm definitely a fan, and I definitely hope the Type R sells well here for several reasons. Well, for a couple of reasons. The Type R sells like fucking hotcakes in the United States. That means that Honda will be back on doing shit for car enthusiasts. It may not be the same now, but I do know a couple years ago, Acura pretty much killed the last manual transmission in their lineup. All Acuras were fucking auto. Now, I'm not sure if that's changed recently or not, but I know that there was a good stretch where there was no manual cars in their lineup. Anything they were selling new was all auto. And I definitely would hate to see everything go to auto. Even the CVT, which I will now admit is not a bad transmission. You know, for an auto car, if I had to drive one, I would definitely drive something with a CVT. You know, but still, I haven't been driving a manual car in over a year now. Like, I think maybe going on 2 years, and it kills me. Like, I would love to get behind, you know, something that I can properly control. So if the Type R sells well here, maybe we'll get more street enthusiastic fucking, you know, cars, and we'll see more manual transmissions coming out of Honda again. And also, you know, it will give Honda the reason to twerk the Type R package, or tweak the Type R. God, I don't know why I keep saying that shit. Sounds fucking gay as hell. But tweak the Type R package and give us different versions and different price ranges, which is the fucking most important. You know, they're talking about doing an all-wheel drive version of the Type R. They're talking about adding more power to the Type R, which I would definitely love to see. And doing like a grand touring version. So it's like more of a tame version of the Type R. It doesn't drive as aggressively. Same power, but, you know, lighter suspension just to be able to cruise in it. You know, it would, if they gave us an all-wheel drive or a more powerful Type R, you know, that would be great, because then we could keep something similar to what's out right now, but be able to get it at a cheaper range. You know, plus the more Type Rs that sell in America, the chances of getting a second-hand or used Type R at a much better price is there. And I don't think that the Type R will ever get to the point where it will depreciate where the private sales market will be easy to get. But I do believe that we could go to a dealership and pick one up for like 20 grand in the next year or two. And that's great. And if based off of that, if you look at the NSX, or more practically looking at the S2000, the S2000 still comes with a hefty fucking price tag if you're buying it on a personal market. And that's a really old car. You can get like a fucking I can't remember. Or AP1, like an AP1, AP2, right? The first and second generation S2000. You can easily, or the AP1 still easily sells for $10,000+, like, unless they're fucking riced out and just really been abused. So yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing more packages out of the Type R and more sales for the Type R, so that way people like me and you could maybe one day drive one of these fucking things. All right, and it seems like I've finally run out of shit to talk about. I know I wasn't super organized in the way I laid this out, because a lot of this shit wasn't really planned. It just kind of came to me while I'm talking about the stuff that I did have planned out. Now, I don't know, guys. I guess just post below how you guys feel about what you guys think about the Type R and what you'd like to see out of it in the future. Yeah, and I guess that's gonna be it. If you like this shit, give it a thumbs up. Appreciate it. Normally, I don't do a lot of video topics like this. If you're interested in anything that I do on a normal basis, just click on VHP Engines below. Check out the videos there. And if you did enjoy this and you want to see more, click subscribe to be notified for future uploads. Also, if you have any questions or you want to talk to me personally, all my social media shit is in the description below. And also, you guys, anybody who follows me on Snapchat gets a follow back, and I am on there to release updates on a somewhat regular basis. I do put all my regular news out on Facebook, but I do small video updates on Snapchat. Alrighty, guys, thanks for watching, and peace.